Alright, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is how did the Chicago police handle protest during the DNC? They probably let him just do it. Let's go check this out, basically. But all right, let's get it.
Our Weekend Watch shines a spotlight on government activity, and a heavy police presence could be seen throughout Chicago this week during the Democratic National Convention. CPD putting their safety plan into action amid several unpermitted protests, which were mostly peaceful. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and the U.S.
Guys, imagine needing a permit to utilize your First Amendment.
Secret Service praising officers and Superintendent Larry.
I guess we need a permit for our Second Amendment, depending on where you are. So I guess that makes all the sense in the world, yeah?
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and the U.S. Secret Service praising officers and Superintendent Larry Snelling for their response and for securing the areas around the DNC. Police say shootings, robberies, and other major crimes were also down this week compared to the same week last year. And here to discuss this topic even further is Better Government Association President David Greising. Good morning, David. Good to see you again.
Great to be here, Mark. Thanks.
So tell us your impressions of what happened over the course of these 4 days and during the DNC. I know we had some skirmishes with police and there was a barrier outside of the DNC that was breached momentarily. But overall, what were your thoughts on the response?
Well, everybody was reckoning back to 1968 when it was determined that this was a police riot, that the police caused a lot of the violence out in the streets. And in this case, the police were well trained, apparently, very much under control in the couple of instances in which they were tested. And the Tuesday event in front of the Israeli consulate, which you covered, by the way, and covered very well.
Thank you.
That was the biggest test.
Yeah, that was the one that got completely out of hand, guys.
And the police got between the two groups, the pro-Palestinian group and the pro-Israeli group. They had bicycles and foot cops there, really maintaining calm in a very tough situation. And so I think the accolades they've received are probably well earned.
Yeah, I think specifically about that protest on Tuesday when this group of about 200 protesters was there and really there to attempt to clash with police. That's what happened. They were really
doing it on purpose.
Marched right to that line and started fighting. I was really struck, being on the ground right at the front lines of this, how the police posture was.
Yeah, guys, every single person that was basically all masked up like that, full face mask, they should have all been arrested in public. Yeah, that's just a wild one here. Now, what I do notice is that they did point out the fact that with this amount of police on the street, a lot of these crimes were down. So what does that tell you, guys? I think it says that specifically in cities like this where crime is just completely rampant, I would love to see this type of police presence, maybe up the budget specifically in that region, specifically the south side of Chicago, and have that amount of police presence there every single day. So instead of wasting money specifically on the migrant crisis, right, and how they're handling it, at least, right, closing things down that belong to the citizens of Chicago, right? Imagine if you would actually put some of that money in the correct places like this, right? Where you actually have the ability to slow down the criminality that just runs completely rampant on the south side of Chicago. I think that'd be a great idea. Maybe we should try that.
Was really how it was formed, right? Before things turned violent, you had those bicycle cops, you had the police officers in their normal uniforms, and then as soon as things turned violent, you had the riot police officers come in, but the police did not come in with a posture of, we've got riot police out, we're ready, for action at this point, which I think was part of the reason that there wasn't more of a provocation, because if you come in with riot police like that shows, a certain stance.
Yeah, the policing theory is that cops these days, they talk a lot about de-escalation.
Yeah.
In other words, don't add fuel to the fire, come in a way that actually helps to return to somewhat peaceful circumstances, although it's never going to be peaceful when the protesters, as you say, they were there to stir things
targeting,
up.
Yeah.
And so they did follow really good tactics, and it's a big contrast with how the police handled the the rioting after George Floyd was murdered in 2020. And there have been a couple of critical Inspector General reports about the Chicago Police Department and some serious questions raised just a couple months ago with regard to whether CPD was ready for this.
Right.
And clearly all of the training and all of the constant reminders that Superintendent Snelling has been giving to his troops seems to have sunk in when you watch what happened on the street. streets.
Yeah, and he was out there every night. I was out there as well every night with them right on the front lines. And yeah, I know, right? Well, you saw the superintendent at the front of those protest lines monitoring the entire thing throughout. So that I think made a difference to the police officers who were on the ground as well. So it made a big difference.
Leadership really matters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it
the
turned out
tone
well.
that he sent, the expectations
Surprisingly.
that were set in the training that led up to this, and his presence there on the front lines with the police, let them know not only that he was watching, but he was there with them.
Yeah, with them.
And that's good for morale, especially when these cops were working double shifts,
Long hours.
no days off, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
This is a circumstance in which it could have gone in very different ways.
And I just want to reiterate as well, the vast majority of the protests were
fine.
peaceful.
Right.
Were totally peaceful.
It was specifically when the pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli individuals got together. Boom, powder keg.
Thousands and thousands of people. There was a small group on Tuesday
That was the big one.
the group Behind Enemy Lines that specifically does call for violence against police and clashes that tried to mix things up and stir things up. But that was really the only thing.
And we also should point out that the National Lawyers Guild, which comes and watches these activities, has claimed that some of the arrests violated civil rights of some of the protesters. They haven't brought any lawsuits that I'm aware of, at least. So usually if they think something's really bad happened, they bring lawsuits.
They'd file.
In this case, there hasn't been so far.
David Greising, thank you so much. We appreciate it, my
deal.
friend. Good to see you. And if you missed any of this week's coverage of the DNC, you can catch up right on our website.
All right, guys, so really quickly. So when he basically mentioned that he realized that, or recognized that the police were actually focusing a lot on de-escalation, that's a great thing. When something is happening where people's emotions are basically, running them completely, you don't need any type of aggression in that situation. I mean, obviously be strong and steadfast in the movement of getting that person off the street, absolutely, right? But de-escalation is the thing. I think everyone needs to kind of learn that concept, right? Because people, when they are in that enraged state, the last thing they actually need is pure aggression, because then they're going to respond again with pure aggression. Nothing is going to happen, right? Imagine what you being the exact opposite of, let's say, the person who is right now crashing out. Okay, they're crashing out in life, right? Imagine if you were to walk up to that person with the exact opposite behavior and mentality and just a frame, right? Yeah, you'll change that person's life, potentially. Maybe they wouldn't do that again, hopefully, right? But all right, listen, guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I think that they handled it very well, right? What are the issues here? None, right? But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.